Om Sadashiva Samarambam Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Param Om. Namaste. Chapter 6, Gita. We are on page 1283. Just to do a quick recap, we are looking at the Yani's mind, or the fruits of self-knowledge, in which Swami Paramarthananda was elaborating that the problems remain, but they are minimized. They become kind of not very relevant, insignificant. And then he gave us some analogies, such as the stars in the sky. Once we are aware that we have this beautiful sun that provides this planet with life, and then the stars, they appear, but they are very small and insignificant. So when we are aware of this light of consciousness as our true nature, identity, the small problems of the ego, they become small problems, insignificant. Not that the Yanni has a certain power to foresee this future and predict the future. No, everything remains the same. The only thing is you in touch with that which is free and independent, and which is your true nature. And that allows you to deal with all kinds of adversities that we all face here. Nididhyasana is now going to bring a new flow of ananda. So ananda is one nature. Now, the perspective is different. When we say that it's a change, a shift of a perspective, is you see the world not from the body-mind that feels small, insecure, and vulnerable, and so on. You see the world through the body-mind, but from the perspective that I am consciousness, and then it changes. What changes is your view due to a change of perspective, And that does not release the Yanni from having to take actions, like Krishna, like Arjuna. So everybody needs to take actions. We saw that we all designed to respond to life with our thoughts, words, and deeds. And then Krishna talks about the highest possible peace and contentment, ananda, which is ananda that passes common understanding. It's sukhan, it's a satisfaction not born out of external conditions. The external conditions remain unpredictable, but the ananda is coming from the conviction, firm conviction of our free, full, whole, and independent nature as Satchitananda consciousness. How did the Yanni got there? Through Kama, Dhamma, Upasana, Shravana, Manan. Yeah? And then Nididhyasana is just something that goes on after one has got this knowledge. So once you have done the process, completed through Manana, and then the Vedanta Nididhyasana, it's no longer a struggle in truth, It's something more natural. Okay. Therefore, Krishna describes the Yanni, that with whose mind is free from unhealthy thought processes. So the unhealthy thought process, they are all based on this mistaken identity with the body-mind sense complex. So as long as we invest in that identification, we will develop what? Unhealth thoughts, emotions, and attitudes towards life, which is going to manifest as the illness, sickness of samsara. Long list of unpleasant, painful emotions, feelings, and attitudes. They are all rooted on this, in this cosmic self-ignorance, The Jnani does not enjoy a mind without thoughts. Jnani enjoys a mind that was educated to think in the lines of the teachings of the Vedas and Vedanta. And the Jnani's thoughts, they are not disturbing because they are in harmony with the Jnani's true nature, which is the nature of every one of us, of course, and everything. And then so I must say, so I hope that all these thoughts of Vedanta that I keep conveying you is not burdening you, If it's burdening you, and then you should not come back. But since you keep coming back, I assume that you enjoy, and I hope I'm not mistaken. So the process is to purify through the knowledge, to replace those samsaric burdening thoughts with beautiful, pleasant, peaceful thoughts, which are peaceful and pleasant because they are harmonized with your true nature. Sattvika vrittis, modification, thoughts, and so on. So Jnani enjoys that kind of a mind, and that's why we are here. We want to enjoy a beautiful mind. So, and how did the Jnani achieve that nididhyasana? He achieved through the Shravana and Manana, and the nididhyasana is kind of an application of self-knowledge, or revising, re-examining the way we respond to life in the lights of the teachings, and making adjustments, but conscious adjustments, intelligent adjustment. So just trying to see, without any sense of guilt or inadequacy, just say, oh, okay, there are still some bits and pieces of ignorant reflections or reactions, We accept the body-mind complex as Ishvara designed us with, We never compare. Some intellects are brighter than others. Some body minds are healthier than others. Okay. So Vidyaranya Swami in Panchadasi says Sattvika Vritti is called Santa Vritti. Rajasa Vritti is Gora Vritti, and I think we end our last class at this paragraph here. So I mentioned to you that in the list of effects, once the body mind is subject to too much self-ignorance for a long period of time, the body mind is damaged to such an extent that one experiences the sickness of samsara, which produces great pain. And then, and the ultimate damage is called delusion or confusion. The discrimination faculty of the individual was further destroyed to the extent that it no longer understands what's going on, cannot really discriminate right from wrong, dharma from adharma. There is a total delusion is this inversion. You don't know what is right from wrong, Dharma from Adharma anymore. So therefore, the purpose here is to develop sattvic mind, a mind which is predominantly clear, contemplative. Rajas and tamas are there, but they should remain as subservient to my intellect. My intellect is must develop enough sattvic if one's is really qualified for self-knowledge and moksha. And in this process of nididhyasana, the yoni, who is now a yogi in the sense that he's doing sadhana, very quiet, very silent, just examining, observing, and remembering the teachings, he looking at his very reactions, the way things hit him, and what kind of reaction to produce, and then one introduce some amendments, some corrections, some reorientation. It must be done, and this is compulsory. It's not forgetting the problem. Forget the problem does not solve the problem. No, you need to face the problem and then take certain actions. So when we do things which are by nature an expression of self-ignorance, the first thing is for us to acknowledge it. And then the second thing is, if necessary, if it involves interaction with other jivas, is to express to other jivas as well. I'm sorry I was a little bit rough and this and that. I'm saying that to you because I like to clear karma right away, and I'm just looking and re-examining those things, and that's the way I move in my life, and that's the way I purify and become more and more, refined and purified and beautiful. So that's the process that nobody should feel inadequate by being in this process. So rare are the ones who are in this process, acknowledge one's shortfalls and sometimes acknowledging to others and move on. So, and a lot of things happens inside without anybody noticing it. It's like the fire, which is somewhere here, and you do not want to disturb the fire, but the fire, by the fire, and therefore you cover it. So, and he gives this example of the flame of a candle or a small fire. And in the beginning, it is very small and fragile. You need to protect the flame. So once the flame is stronger, and then it can handle the disturbance of the mind, meaning to say the adversities, that we get in contact, which tends to disturb the mind. But the mind is like a flame, it's a strong flame that is somehow can handle those small disturbance. The disturbance are going to make the mind flicker a little bit, but will never really cause much damage. So the fire there represents the knowledge, the hard and fast, well-retained self-knowledge, which may be a challenge here and there, but it does not go off. You understand? So that way we will not forget the problem. We will see the problem, but the purpose here is to retain the knowledge, because the knowledge is the light that is going to neutralize the problem. The problem is a byproduct of ignorance. So there are two levels of problem here. One is the first level is a real challenging circumstance hitting you. And the other is the way you're going to deal with it. It's subjective. It's your interpretation, the way you're going to suffer it psychologically, mentally. So what you make out of that is a second layer of problem. So the actual problem is there. You deal with the problem, but you don't add the second layer of problem. You understand? So you don't neglect the real problem. You don't add a second layer of problem to it. You understand? You just remember your true nature and stay strong through the process of dealing with that adversity, that difficult problem. So, and then he's talk, you are putting in your deep conscious mind, and whenever time comes, ideal time comes, you will start crying with a flood of tears. He says, so keep things, I don't, and let me see what he's trying to say here. Okay. He's talking about people who approach him and they somehow, they hold the pain, the tears. And then sometimes they need to see someone to just let it all out, you know? And then they say, Swamiji, I need advice, I need help. And then before they even start talking, they start crying. Why? They could not share it with anyone. That's why we say we are all Swiss banks, so private accounts, secret accounts. So the swamis in India, they are kind of advisors, well, counselors. They offer certain therapeutic role as well, because people comes and privately tells the swamis all the problems, okay, family problems, financial problems. So I heard Swamiji saying about that often. It is a side role that Swamiji plays there, is just listening to people's problems. So everything is there in your subconscious mind. Things that have no solution is there. So how are you going to deal with it? Huh? So I should see it. And therefore, what I want to say is this nidhyasana is compulsory. But you have, but that you should sit, but that you should sit in Padmasana, keeping neck straight, blah, 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 blah. But that you do not need to sit like that. So if you love to sit that, it's okay, but find a comfortable posture, and then you just examine the situation, get in touch with what's happening inside. So he goes around talking different things here. They're not very important. And then he brings the child that he may be a good student, but he never sits down in a comfortable, in a straight position. So he likes to study in bed, lying down, belly down. So it doesn't matter, as long as the child is doing his good work. Therefore, we do not tell people to sit in a certain position, do meditation. What is important is, even if you are walking in the beach, you are just re-examining, the events, the recent events. That is contemplation. That is nidhyasana. That is being honest and revising things, and integrity, honesty with yourself. And then restructuring your perspective. Bring your perspective to, I am limitless, Ananda Brahman, and the body-mind now is experiencing some challenge. But I am this Brahman, and that change of perspective is going to minimize the problem, which is relevant to the body-mind, sense complex. So this is the play between our true nature and our apparent nature. The more the apparent nature knows its true nature, the more insignificant the problems of the inferior personality become, because now the individual is anchored in his or her true nature, and then the body mind is able to handle adversities in a much superior manner. And that will purify and transform your mental, emotional process. This is all Nididhyasana. So how the yogi got there, he's explaining how the yogi got there. Such a yogi means the ones who has been contemplating, meditator, anididhyasaka, all the time, honestly, transparently looking at everything without develop any sense of inadequacy or insufficiency, but simply look and say, okay, so what can I do? I just have to see this problem from the perspective of my true nature. And the knowledge, this change of perspective is going to do the job. What job? It's not going to cancel the problem. It's going to make it very small. Because once I stand in consciousness as consciousness, and then my body mind as a bonus gets this equanimity, this vairagya, this ability to receive things as they are. So this Yami is someone like a Brahma Bhutam, is one who has become, quote unquote, one with Brahman. Means these are all fundamentals. You should not think that Brahman is somewhere and then you go there and then you merge into Brahman as Brahman, and Brahman is getting fatter and fatter as more and more people is joining him or merging into him. No, it's not about that, as we know. It's just to recognize your nature in Brahman as Brahman. My true nature is consciousness. So you should not think that Brahman is sitting somewhere and you should do meditation to slowly get there, and merge with him. No, don't think in those terms. The problem is slowly you have to let go of your identification with your inferior nature, which is anatima nature, body, mind, appearance, jiva. And then the Jnani has learned to own up its superior true nature, the Atma Svarupam. You learn to own, to claim, and to see this is it. This is the only way I can be in peace here, is to own it, especially in Kali Yuga when things become really challenging. You have but still you're going to take some action here and there to protect your inferior nature from extreme pain. But you accept anyhow whatsoever results because you understood the laws of Nietzsche as well, and you have the power to take things as prasada as well. Huh? So the problem is you claim the body as I. Instead, you have to claim consciousness as I. Instead of claiming the mind as I, you need to change your perspective and claim consciousness as I. The body mind are instruments for transaction. I am Chaitanya. Behind all these instruments, behind or pervading or permeating or enlivening, I am the consciousness, which is enlivening these instruments. This shifting our perspective is called Brahmi Bhavaha. Therefore, Brahmabhutam. What is the benefit of this process that culminates with Nididhyasana? Is a peace, which does not depend on the circumstance, the exterior circumstance. So verse 28, Thus, constantly engaging the mind in Nididhyasana, the purified yogi, effortless, attains limitless ananda, which belongs to Brahman. So this process of Nididhyasana, it has to go in the background of the mind constantly. But this constantly Nididhyasana is so natural and effortless to a certain extent, because every time there is something and the body mind is acting or responding to a situation from the standpoint of a video ignorance, these moments, they become more and more clear and evident. You understand? So you don't need to no longer do a longer research to see where there is some ignorance, because as we know, the ego is full of impurities and uglinesses and so on. And but the ego is the only one who cannot see its limitation and its shortfalls. I mean, every other ego can see the problems, the limitations, and the shortfalls of somebody else's ego, but the ego has a difficulty to see its own problems, limitations, or ignorance. So what happens here is that once you begin shifting your perspective from consciousness, you are not the ego trying to hide from himself its own shortfalls. You are consciousness, and any one of these impurities coming, these negative attitudes, thoughts, and so on, they are immediately seen by the refined intellect. So therefore it's engaging, it's an nididhyasana that is natural, because the intellect is already purified due to having completed Shravana and Manana after having done Kama Yoga and Dharma, and Upasana. So now the mind is just pure enough to do this Nididhyasana, because it has to a certain extent shift its perspective. So, and then it's like that story of things happen and they appear like an elephant in your living room. You look at that and say, oh, look at the elephant came back, you know. And then you just see, knowing that seeing it neutralize it, minimize it, purifies it. So the purified yoga, to begin with, effortless, is growing more and more refinement and purification. And then it begins experience more and more this peace, this ananda, this satisfaction, which belongs to its true nature as Satchitananda Brahman. It's very difficult to put this in words to explain how this takes place. The peace of the yoni, it belongs to its true nature, which is Satchitananda Brahman, belongs to one's such a nature, no? Brahman nature. But somehow, because the Jiva Atma, the yoni, which is still associated to anchored with the body, a physical body, the yoni is there. It's a body-mind sense complex. It's a mixture of both. It's a mixture of Brahman and matter/energy, which is the construct superimposed by Maya. So the yoni is both. To the extent that the yoni has understood and claimed its true nature, I mean, the other 50% aspect of its expression, which begins diminishing as we own more and more our true nature as Satchitananda Brahman, it does not have much power to disturb the mind. And then the yoni begins enjoying a satisfaction which belongs to its true nature, our Satchit Ananda nature, no? The knowledge of my limitless, free, and independent nature gives that peace. No, but it belongs to Brahman. No, I want to experience Ananda that belongs to me as well. And they say, remember that he, You are Jiva Atma. You are body mind, but you are also a mixture with Brahman. So it belongs to your true nature. You know, when we say it belongs to Brahman, we should never think I belongs to Brahman. And how about me, my poor my poor body mind? No, the body mind is not alone. It's there in association with that Sachitananda Brahman. No? So it belongs to me, this peace, as Brahman. It belongs to me as the mind alone. No, you are not going to find, even if your mind is very brilliant and pure, you need to shift your perspective and know that all ananda comes from your Brahman nature, limitless, free and independent nature. So this idea is presented in different ways. In the previous verse, it was said that same idea that he says, so he presents a lot of utamam sukham upati. So he says here in a different way, atyatam, instead of utaman, he used the word atyatam. Instead of upati, amstuti. So he gets infinite ananda, this peace, contentment, and confidence in my one without a second nature. This person attains what? Attains the status. Who is this person? It's a yogi. Yeah, it is a yogi. No? This peace is not yani. This peace is not yana. Okay? Peace, shanti, is the yana pala. Very simply put. So that makes a very important distinction here. What is self-knowledge? Self-knowledge is yana and yana alone. Okay, so I had a student that presented this question to me last week. Say, so I have this yana already, and why I'm not enjoying so much palan? I'm still, struggling, because one thing is yana. The peace and satisfaction is the palan. It has to come as a byproduct, okay, to the yana. So, and then what is missing on my yana to produce this palan, the yana palan, which is ananda, shanti, peace, satisfaction, confidence. What is from fortitude or conviction, of yana. So yana is still a small flame that is, easily disturbed by adversities. So when this yana is really strong and clear, and then the adversity is not going to put off that certainty of self-knowledge, that conviction, that fortitude of self-knowledge. So the palan is what we are working for, But we need to have yana, as we say in Vedanta, nididhyasana. In Vedanta, nididhyasana is impossible without yana. First, you get all the knowledge, and then you're going to enjoy the nididhyasana, the process of nididhyasana, to get what? To get the palan. The palan is the fruits. The fruit is what? Shanti, peace. Okay? Which is not the knowledge. It's the fruits of knowledge. Oh, no, I have a beautiful tree. It's giving a lot of flowers and this and that. But then somehow I'm not getting the fruits. The fruits I never manage, So no, and then a tree is almost useless if it does not produce its fruits. So we need to go all the way until we can enjoy the fruits of this knowledge. So what does nididhyasana do to the mind of the yoni? This meditation, this nididhyasana, this shravana mana nididhyasana did not even produce ananda or shanti. Yana has to automatically produce shanti, but our ways of things was an obstacle. So meditation or contemplation or study of descriptions, reflecting upon it and so on, does not produce Shanti or Ananda. Only Yana is going to produce Shanti. So, but I have already Yana, okay. And then this Yana has to go through a further process, which is nididhyasana, so that it can purify, refine, to produce more and more Yana. But the ways of thinking of the mind is that, no, I want instant ananda. I got the yana and I want to be automatically having my shunt. What is my shunt? A lot of people do not have the patience. And then they believe, no, Vedanta does not work. So those ways of thinking, we say, no, I have the yana. It is exactly the way my student in Brazil presented her question. Yana has to be automatic produce shunt. No, it's not that way, but our ways of thinking becomes an obstacle. So we did nididhyasana, and what? We did that to remove some obstacles, okay? Once the removing of the obstacles were concluded, and then the yana naturally is going to produce ananda. This is beautiful. What are the obstacles? It's still bits and pieces of ignorance, which sometimes they are not really sitting no longer in the conscious mind, but it's in the subconscious mind. Nididhyasana is going to address those obstacles until we have the yana that is described as aparoksha yana, is a yana free from the obstacles, which are these bits and pieces of ignorance still influencing our conscious mind. So once we go through the nididhyasana, we are clearing these obstacles. We cleared some obstacles on the manana because we are clearing the doubts and abstractions and, those things that were not really understood on the manana. We remove some obstacles, which are doubts, okay, vagueness, abstractions, and so on. But then once we did the manana, we enter in the nididhyasana, we're going to do a deeper work, which is to remove the obstacles in the causal mind, in the causal body, in the subconscious mind. And needs to be done until this yana is firm and clear and it has grown roots in the subconscious mind. And then the yana, once it spreads in the subconscious mind, it naturally produces its fruits. It's like opening the tap. In India, they have problems with water, but the rich people, they open the tap, immediately the water flows. This is punya. This is a lot of work the people did to be rich there in Pune, or maybe they were just corrupt politicians, but they opened the tap and the water flows. No effort, ananda flows, peace flows. What is this? Is the result. Result of what? Of Bhagwan's laws of gravity. The water is going to flow. The same way in the spiritual world, let me see, should tank. And this, but in the tank, Jalan should be there. Jalan is there in the tank. It should come in the tap. The water is in the tank, and it has to be to a certain level. This knowledge has to be properly established so that naturally it flows to produce peace, confidence, satisfaction. Okay. And they should be free from obstructions, and then the outflow of peace is going to be natural. Similarly, yana means shanti, peace is there. Yana has to flow down in the form of ananda, shanti. But this shanti flow, if it does not come, we have closed the tap. What is this? Our habitual ways of thinking. So by nididhyasana, this habitual thinking must be eliminated. Shanti is not to be produced, is already there because it is our true nature. But those obstacles need to be removed. our habitual ways of thinking. Which are the habitual ways of thinking? It's thinking based on old vasanas, which are, you know, constituted by habitual impressions, intellectual, emotional, you know. So those habitual ways of thinking, those attitudes are going to be there, undermining our ananda, which is natural. So by nididhyasana, these habitual tendencies, attitudes, thinking, a process of thinking based on self-ignorance must be neutralized. Shanti, I do not produce. The nature of Shanti, which is the consequence of Yani, just flows. So how am I going to produce this peace and confidence if it cannot be produced, not even by meditation or any other kind of sadhana? No? So it's the yana. It's the yana has to be, made available by growing roots. And I was studying these things, talk about these things in my previous class in Portuguese, if I'm not wrong, about this process. So this yana, it must grow, it must spread into the subconscious mind, but we can't do it directly. Why? Because we don't have access to our unconscious mind, our causal body. We can infer what is in our unconscious mind, in our causal body, as it surfaces in our conscious mind. And then we have only way to address this in Nididhyasana is going back to the scriptures and again bring forth those ways of thinking which are in harmony with the Upanishads, And by doing so, we see that in contradiction to the thoughts, the habitual old thoughts that produce a sense of ashanti, no shanti, So you bring those teachings in your mind, and by doing so, you are developing what? You are developing Upanishad impressions that are going to form new vasanas, new samskaras that are going to allow you to get the fruits of this knowledge naturally. You understand? We can only address it in our conscious mind by how? How doing that? By working on these teachings, remembering the teachings, making it alive in the teaching, re-examining the way you respond to life and so on, and cultivating what? So we know this sentence. It says, the most important goal of a Vedantin is to cultivate and develop vasanas, Upanishadic vasanas, Vedantic vasanas, because those vasanas are going to sit in the unconscious mind, in the causal body, to produce a natural shanti, a natural peace, okay, which cannot be produced except with cultivating not new set of vasanas to neutralize those ignorant vasanas. Do you understand?
It reminds me of a quote by Swami Chinmayananda, where he says that the people who feel, for life is a tragedy for those who feel, and life is a comedy for those who think.
Mm.
Yeah. It seems like everything becomes sort of unserious.
Yeah.
When,
So
yeah.
those who think, those who have a mental perspective from the Upanishads, from Vedanta, etc., life is a play. Many times it's a dramatic play. But for those who do not have this perspective, but their perspective is from the body of vasanas, life is really a tragedy, Yeah. And emotionally, because the greatest pain is emotional suffering, pain. Yeah, yanam means shanti. The nature of shanti, which is the consequence of yanam, that just flows naturally When I say it flows, do not think that I will gush down from somewhere. No, it will flow through my eyes, flow in every figurative expression. I seem to discover more and more Shanti. I seem to discover more and more. Okay, it flows me. Just a play of words here. When you say that, when we say that it's going to be a natural peace, sense of peace, it means that it's effortlessly emerging this peace, satisfaction, and confidence. It keeps growing, it keeps present itself more and more as if it's flowing. Flowing is a figurative expression, you know. But it's the fruits of self-knowledge that is the goal of each one of us. We need to go through the entire process. Previously, a situation, there is an expression, Ashanti. Similarly, a situation would have produced too much Ashanti, you know, disturbance. But now the same situation brings less Ashanti. And any transformation must be gradual. This transformation is not overnight process. Do not that you keep on doing nidiyasa forever and you never had a shanti until a particular day, and on a particular day, poof, shanti appears. No, you know, it's going to appear with less frequently, with less intensity, and remaining for a longer period of time. But then it starts growing. This shanti has to be cultivated to the extent that it will cultivate these beautiful vasanas, you understand? It's not like black and white, it's not like a tangible line. Oh, no, now it's flowing, boom, no. These fruits of self-knowledge is already flowing. It's just that it keeps growing. Do not think like that. Any transformation is gradual, and Yana producing Shanti is also slow, a process of slow and gradual transformation. You understand why I sometimes I like to say that self-knowledge is the beginning of a process. No? So enlightenment or self-knowledge is the beginning of a process of gradual transformation of one's personality, which means to say a personality is more and more purified to enjoy more and more Shanti. And with Shanti, and make no mistake, with Shanti, a mind that experiences ananda, it's a mind that is wiser and wiser and wiser, because a Shanti mind, it has much more rajas and tamas playing, and it's not very wise. The more Shanti, the more we gain the fruits of this knowledge as a mind properly resolved peacefully. This peaceful mind is a more clear mind. It's a wiser mind, better insights, better discrimination, better everything. This is the gradual process. We are not only here, I'm trying to make a small distinction here. We are not only here to experience Shanti, but to experience wisdom. Wisdom is the other side of this peace. This would be a nice satsang. So if I remember, I will try to write it. Just as your physical change, just as our physical change is a gradual process, not that you don't become overweight from one day to another. It's a gradual process. That's what he's saying here. Vedanta is also like that. Initially, you have to initiate the program, and thereafter you will find that Vedanta gels, and you see that the shunt seems to increase gradually. And therefore, Atyantam Sukham Asnute. And who attains this Sukham? The Yogi, the Vedanti that has gone through the entire process. which is a Vedantic meditator, Vedantic yogi, the one who gives quality time for this process to change his ways of thinking, his attitudes. It's huge. It's huge. This process is something, that very rarely we find somebody willing to take upon this, this entire gradual process. So this is a very brave soul. It's called a yogi. And how does this soul brings about its own transformation? It's like physiotherapy. In physiotherapy, you have to repeatedly, develop by exercise, you have to bring back certain functions. So now, after many lifetimes living under the power, the governance of self-ignorance, repeatedly you cultivate and develop these knowledge-based vasanas, This is the exercise that makes you later on to live as a yoni. You're going to become wiser and much more peaceful and happy. Similarly, there is a psychotherapy like this. It is a consuming process. Yes, any process, it's time consuming. But this is even more time consuming because the mind is a subtler instrument. So if you have a physical problem, you can do some outside work and briefly you can gain the fruits, you can enjoy the fruits. But you can do that if you have a neck problem or leg problem. But it requires initiative, dedication. But the mind is very subtle. I think he's trying to say that in the case of this Vedantic process, and similarly, this is a psychotherapy-like thing. It's a unique process. In fact, it's more time-consuming. It's a life's project because the mind is a subtler instrument. And let's see what he says about that. The fact that now we are not trying to fix one of these members of your body, Now you want to fix your mind. You do, some physiotherapy for the mind. So he's saying here that it requires even more time-consuming effort. It takes a constant effort in the lights of the teachings of Vedanta, disciplining, regulating the mind, purifying the mind, controlling the mind, reorienting the mind, transforming one's habits of thinking, thought process. All of that, of course, in the light of the knowledge revealed in the Upanishads and Vedanta. And this knowledge has to be properly already internalized or firmly retained in your conscious mind through Shravana and Manana. Then what will happen? What will happen? Vigata Kalmatsaha. This yoga is gradually freer from unhealthy habits of thinking. Unhealthy habits are called viparita bhavana. So all these viparita bhavanas, which are bad habits of thinking, or patterns or feelings, emotions that, they will get gradually transformed or erased or neutralized. Everything like anger is a viparita bhavana. Frustration, irritation, jealous, all kinds of mental emotional complex. We are so great experts that naturally we get frustrated. So no effort is required to get frustrated, because frustration is a tendency that is so profoundly well established in our minds, in our causal mind. So why we get this is a profound, very profound insight. We have this self-ignorance so profoundly established in our mind that every common human being experience irritation, anger, and frustration over and over again. Okay, because it's hardwired with that wrong knowledge. What is the wrong knowledge? Is I can get what I want, you know. I want what I want when I want, the way I want. And this is so deeply hardwired, and naturally we get frustrated and irritated and angry. And no effort. Why? We have stupid vasanas working for us 24/7, and we don't need any effort, but we suffer because our life is being governed by, suffering vasanas. So it means that we need to transform the habitual vasanas, which are negative because they produce suffering. And then he mentions about the Wayne Dyer of America. He says, Your Erroneous Zone, a beautiful book. He calls the erroneous zones in your mind, the bad vasanas, stupid, wrong, negative, or ignorance-based vasanas. So you have to handle those negative suffering-produced vasanas or tendencies or habits. If you do that, the achievement you can have is, he wrote another book, which is the fruits if you manage to handle all these negative habitual tendencies. He says the result is in his second book, which the sky is the limit, on health habits of thinking. They gradually diminish, they are reduced, okay? And that is the process. And this process, it takes a lot of effort. I mean, we need to be honest, we need to be honest, and we have to be so courageous to take this path, in spite of how challenging and gradual it is. Therefore, when you have time, you sit in a place and ask the question, why my mind is problematic? Why my mind is disturbing? What are the disturbing issues? And then I can see and graduate and keep graduate, strong and frequent disturbance, less frequent, less profound, less strong, more. So you have to really map it up and be so honest, because usually we don't want to do that. We want to keep blaming somebody else, circumstance of life, just victimizing myself, and somebody's making me suffer, some higher evil force making me suffer. So how about taking responsibility and do what can be done in spite of having dark force or light force operating this planet, right? So you do what you can. Perhaps you'll take years doing this work, making this inventory of your issues, of your reactions. It's going to require attention, yes. I say it's like having a physical disease. There are two kinds of disease. So some of them you go in the emergency room and then the doctor gives a pill or two, but send you home. But some others, you pass by the emergency room and from there you take admission in a hospital. And then you, according to the illness, you're going to have to take a surgery or something like that, or have to fight a cancer or whatever. So you know what kind of physical challenge you may have and how to handle it. So how about your mind? Nobody takes care of the mind. It's so unbelievable. Same way, there are certain mild issues, mental issues, which are there, and you need to be alert during your day-to-day transactions. That observance, that examination, that alertness is also nididhyasana. But there are certain issues that are not going to go away only by general seeing it, general examining alertness of seeing it. Some of these tendencies are so profoundly hardwired, produce so much suffering for so long. You're going to have to go, quote unquote, to the hospital for a longer period of treatment. So it means to say that you're going to have to do a deeper dive and sit with your mind and ask certain questions. Oh mind, why are you so disturbed? Why you are disturbed for so many small little things? So look at your mind in the light of the teachings of Vedanta. Ask the questions. Can you change the situation, my dear mind? This situation is something we can do, or is something that cannot be sent back to Ishvara because it's a choiceless parabada. If you can do something, dear mind, help me out, and let's together, me and you and the body, present the actions that may change this situation. But if it is choiceless, there is no point to suffering in anticipation or worrying. Learn to talk to your mind and reorient, educating the mind to withstand the changeless situations. Now, I need to remember the Karma Yoga teaching. Therefore, thereafter, one should not talk about that situation again and again and again and again, because after knowing that it cannot be changed, you just accept it for what it is. So just be strong. If you cannot change the setup, you just get strong with your mindset. I talk about the change required in my mind to withstand difficult situations. This is the effort which is worthwhile. So it's all very beautiful. You see, Swami was really inspired here, and he did not even enter the. I know we have seen one verse, huh? One verse we saw. Okay. So I'm going to look into our Keno Upanishad, and if you can as well, and if we need to get the verse from a different text, or we see what we do, okay? And we exchange some thoughts or notes, or and then Monday we decide whether we carry on Gita or we'll begin the Keno Upanishad. Anything else? Everybody is really inspired and enthusiastic with living a Vedantine life. It's the best game in town, no matter how difficult it may be. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishate. Om Shanti 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 Om. Namaste.
Thanks, Arlindo.
Oh, yeah, and we go back to the other timing, okay? As usual, 1 hour early than today. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Arlindo. Brilliant class on the process of purifying the mind. Thank you.
Yeah. Good. Good for you. Bye-bye.